Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 61 of the Unstoppable Entertainment Show, the most comprehensive entertainment news show on the internet. I am, of course, Nate Schaffner, otherwise known as the Unstoppable Nate. Uh, how are you all doing? I hope you're doing well. I do apologize for uh, the long break in between the last episode and this episode. I've had a lot of crazy shit going on and I've been extremely busy with work. But I am back. After all, I am unstoppable. Um, so before I get started, I just wanted to let you all know, just wanted to remind you, everybody, that if you like this show, go ahead and hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, spread the word, tell your friends. Also, if you have a comment, a question, or if you'd like me to talk about certain movies or franchises, you can email me anytime at the address listed in the description of this video. So, with all that out of the way, let's get started with this. So, two of uh, one of my favorite actors is Jason Momoa, and he has been extremely busy as of late, and he continues to be. He's going to be in the new Supergirl. He's going to play Lobo, which looks awesome. Minecraft, whatever you want it, whatever you say about that movie. And he's got this. He's going to be there's this new live action Street Fighter movie coming, and he's going to play Blanca. And I've seen the trailer, and it looks absolutely. I don't even know how to describe it. It looks wild. It definitely it it definitely looks better than the 1994 one with Jean-Claude Van Damme, but it looks completely batshit insane. And he's going to be in that, and he's going to be in the sequel to Minecraft movie. I mean, he's crazy busy right now. But he's going to be in this new movie with Ryan Reynolds, and I like Ryan Reynolds. I think I'm trying to think of the best way to say this, but like I I I like Ryan Reynolds. I think the Deadpool. I think he's so perfectly suited for Deadpool because he's essentially been playing Deadpool his entire career. um, you know, I've seen him in a couple dramatic roles, and he's actually very good a dramatic actor. He was in this movie um, with Denzel Washington called Safe House, um, and it's a decent movie. It's okay, but he's great. Um, and then he was in this movie called the Woman in Gold with Helen Mirren. I mean, I think he should do more dramatic stuff, to be honest. But I like Ryan Reynolds. So yeah. So um, Jason Momoa and Ryan Reynolds are going to be doing this movie together called Animal Friends. Um, now I'm gonna describe this movie to you, and then I'm gonna get to the actual piece of news regarding this movie. So there's this director by the name of Peter Atencio who directed this movie called Keanu. Um, excuse me. Um, Animal Friends. This article is on Joe Blow, published by Steve Sag. And a little ways down here in this article, it says the official log line for Animal Friends reads: Two fugitive animals embark on an adventure across America to find the ranch that was once their home, healing their friendship while pursued by an equally odd couple DEA agent and fish and wildlife ranger with something to prove. Oh God. And this is going to be a live action animation hybrid movie. This sounds completely wild, and it sounds like the perfect project, the perfect kind of film for Ryan Reynolds and Jason Momoa to co-star in together. So, the reason I bring this up is because um, this movie is being delayed. I think it was going to come out this year. I think. I'm not certain. But it has been delayed to January of 2027. And it says here that this move is due to talent scheduling. Now, let me just. This movie also co stars Aubrey Plaza, who I also love. I adore Aubrey Plaza. Aubrey Plaza. Now, due to scheduling, so let me just bring this up here. Uh, Ryan Reynolds has uh, several projects. This article does list off these projects. So Ryan Reynolds, he's doing this movie um, from the team behind the Dungeons and Dragons movie called Mayday. Um, and Jason Momoa, he's like I said, he's going to be in Supergirl. He's going to play Lobo. He's going to be in the Street Fighter movie. Um, and he's going to be in Minecraft movie 2, and he's also got Dune Part 3. So the two of them are a little busy. By the way, just as a side note, Dune Part 3. This this Dune trilogy could be one of the great film trilogies ever. I'm just gonna say that. But Jason Momoa was gonna be there. So they're a little busy. So it makes sense that this movie is gonna be delayed for um, scheduling reasons. This sounds like the perfect kind of project, the perfect kind of movie for the two of them to be in. I and hopefully it's good. Um, what's interesting, and I just want to say this real quick. I think that Ryan Reynolds and especially Jason Momoa, um, they can make really bad movies watchable because of how talented they are, especially Jason Momoa. Aquaman 2 is terrible. Aquaman the Lost Kingdom. But oh my god, Jason Momoa as Aquaman is awesome. You know. Um you know, even in the Minecraft movie, like half the reason that movie is watchable is because of well, the two main reasons that movie's watchable are because of Jack Black and Jason Momoa. And uh uh and even going all the way back to the Justice League movie, which is not good at all. Um, him as Aquaman in that movie, just surfing the the uh, the aliens. It's fantastic. But anyway, so Animal Friends has been delayed to January of 2027. So jump in the comment section and let me know your thoughts. Okay. Well, a bit of sad news to report. On March 27th, um, there was an actor by the name of James Tolkan. Um, he was in he played Mr. Strickland in the Back to the Future trilogy, and he was also he was in who did he play? He was in the original Top Gun. Um, I'm trying to. He played. I'm gonna. Um, excuse me, just a sec. I'm so sorry about this. Um, he played Stinger in Top Gun. Um, he was also in War Games. Um, yeah, he played the Stinger in Top Gun. He was in War Games. Um, he was in what was great. He was in Dick Tracy. He played Numbers in Dick Tracy. And on March 27th, um, James Tolkien died. He was 94. Um, he played various. He played. What was great about the Back to the Future trilogy is that he played multiple generations of Strickland. Like he played the ancestor of Strickland in Back to the Future Part 3, and then he played a future relative of Strickland in Part 2. Um, and he was just a magnetic character actor to watch. And I read an interesting, fun bit of trivia that every so often, like fans would come up to him and just ask him to call them slackers because that was his thing in the movie. You got a real attitude problem, McFly. You're a slacker. You know, and uh, he had a he was great in Top Gun, and but he was just this magnetic presence, and I was sad to read of his death. And I love War Games as well with Matthew Broderick. That movie's fantastic. Um, but I was sad to learn of James Tolkien's death. As a big fan of the Back to the Future trilogy, especially and Top Gun, and like I said. So I just wanted to say a few words about James Tolkien. And it was what was so lovely is that Christopher Lloyd uh, sent out this tribute to James Tolkien, and he said, "Where you're going, they don't need roads." Which I thought was kind of beautiful, actually. Um, but I just wanted to say a few words about James Tolkien. Um, you know, may he rest in peace. Um, this this next bit of news. Sorry, I've been having throat problems lately. This next bit of news is a little difficult for me to talk about because I have a kind of a I guess the um um I have a not really a direct connection, not a direct connection to it at all, but I have a I have kind of a tertiary connection to it, I guess you could say. So let me just say this first. So um, I think I talked about a few either last my last episode or the episode before. There's this movie called Cockroach. Um, that's going to star um, Chris Hemsworth, Taron Egerton, and Zazie Beetz, and it's going to be about this stranger who takes on New York's criminal underworld, and he transforms himself into a larger than life crime boss. And there's been some casting news regarding this movie um, that is, like I said, I don't have a direct connection to, but I kind of have uh, an extremely loose connection, I would say, uh, to it. Um, that I want to talk about for a minute, and then I want to get back to talking about this movie, Cockroach. So this article is on Joe Blow, published by Steve Sag, and this article basically says that Alec Baldwin is has been cast in this movie. This is difficult for me to talk about, so if you'll just bear with me, I'm going to try to phrase this properly. Um, I I I have always liked Alec Baldwin as an actor. I couldn't give the furry crack of a rat's behind about his personal life because his personal life never affected me. I've always liked him as an actor. He wasn't someone that like I would like just because he's in it, I would watch it, but he's in a number of movies that I've enjoyed and he is in those movies and I thought he was good. Like The Hunt for Red October is one of my favorite movies ever and he's great in that movie. But like I said, he's never been one of my favorite actors, but I've always liked him in movies. Like it's like some of my favorite, a lot of movies that I really enjoy. It's like, oh, Alec Baldwin's in this, and he's great, you know. But he's never been one of my favorite actors. But I've always liked him as an actor. So they're back in 2021. Um, Alec Baldwin was a producer and a star, and he was a producer and he had the lead role in this um, kind of, I guess it's an independent western. Alec Baldwin was a producer on was a producer and had the lead role in this independent Western movie called Rust. And there was a Ukrainian cinematographer on that movie, on Rust, by the name of Helena Hutchins. And the I'm gonna try to get through this as best I can. Because of an extreme lack of negligence and safety regulations on that movie, Helena Hutchins was killed on the set of Rust. She died from a gunshot wound to the chest when a live round was fired from a prop revolver by Alec Baldwin. Now, and she was 42 years old. Helena Hutchins was 42 years old. She was not just a cinematographer. She was a wife and a mother. And my wife, Katie, and I went to her candlelight vigil. Now, as far as being criminally responsible for the death of Helena Hutchins, it was found that Alec Baldwin was not criminally responsible. There was this involuntary manslaughter case that he was involved in, and that case was dismissed in July of 2024. However, he still faces I believe the proper term is a civil trial. He still faces a civil trial over allegations of negligence and reckless disregard for safety. Now, I want to reiterate here. Alec Baldwin was not just the lead actor on this movie. He was the producer on this movie, which means because he was a producer and the lead actor, he was on that set every day, which means he is directly responsible for the everyday function of that film set to make sure that everything runs as smoothly as possible. Now, I just want to say real quick, I mentioned earlier that I have a very loose connection, a tertiary connection to this horrible horrible tragedy. I have worked in the film industry um, before. This incident on the set of Rust, I was working on another movie, which was about 3 minutes by car from where this incident on the set of Rust happened. And um, because I'm trying to think of the best way to explain this, but communication throughout various film sets uh, spreads incredibly quickly. So, because the film that I was working on was so um, close to the set of Rust, news of this happened. The word of this happened. Like we heard about it before it was actually news. You know, like before it was on television and all these headlines. Like the film sets heard about this and knew about this before it was broadcast on television. If you know, um, and that's why I say I have a very loose connection to this. Is like I didn't work on the set of Rust, but I the set that I was on was just a couple minutes away from where from there. So, but going back to the Alec Baldwin thing, um, he has not been found. He was not found criminally responsible for the death of Helena Hutchins. But he still faces allegations of negligence, and reckless disregard. And as far as I'm concerned, he should be facing those allegations of negligence and reckless disregard. As far as I'm concerned, because again, he was not just the lead actor on this movie. He was a producer on this movie, which means he is on that set every day, responsible for the daily function of that film set. And as far as I'm concerned, anyone and everyone who worked on that film set, who handled that prop gun, is partially responsible. Anyone and everyone who handled that prop gun that day is responsible for the death of Helena Hutchins, as far as I'm concerned. It shows an extreme lack of negligence and complete disregard of safety. And I won't get into, like, there have been various interviews and he said, she said, they did this. I'm not going to get into all of that because I could go on forever about it. But I will say that naturally, because of the death of Helena Hutchins, the film was shut down for an extended period of time. And however, at one point, they did resume filming. I don't think they completed filming at the same location. I do know that Helena Hutchins' widower insisted on being a producer on the film. In fact, that was the condition on which that film was completed. Like, Helena Hutchins' widower said, "Okay, you can complete filming, but I'm gonna be there every fucking day to make sure that this doesn't happen again. And the film is dedicated to Helena Hutchins. um, but again, as far as I'm concerned, anyone and everyone who handled that prop gun that day, including Alec Baldwin, is responsible for the death of Helena Hutchins. Which brings me back to Cockroach. Alec Baldwin being involved in this movie, I am no longer interested in this movie because, as far as I'm concerned, Alec Baldwin has um, Alec Baldwin has shown the kind of person that he is. Um, him being extremely negligent and irresponsible. And and it's a shame because, like I said, I've always liked him as an actor, but him being involved in this movie, I can't endorse this movie. I can't support this movie in any way. I see Alec Baldwin as a completely different person now. Um, that this movie is dead to me. Um, so I don't know what else to say. Those are my thoughts on Alec Baldwin. Maybe you think I'm being hard on him. Maybe you think I'm being unfair. Um, but that's just my opinion. Um, those are my thoughts. But yeah, so I just wanted to talk about this for a few minutes, and give you my thoughts and opinions on it. So jump in the comment section and let me know what you guys think about my thoughts on this. Let's move on here. So one of my, I'm going to try to move on to something more pleasant. One of my favorite, because y'all know I'm a big horror fan. One of my favorite horror franchises is the Scream franchise. Aside from Scream 3. Scream 3 is terrible. Well, I should also say that I haven't seen Scream 7. I haven't seen the new one. I've heard it's awful. Hold on just a second. Um, yeah, I've heard it's awful. Like I've heard it's worse than Scream 3, and I'm like, oh god, like that's you know, which is a shame because you bring you they brought Nev Campbell back, Kevin Williamson, who has written for the most part the entire franchise. He was directing this movie. I've heard it's terrible, but it nevertheless has become the highest grossing installment of the entire franchise. Say whatever you want about that. A movie this terrible making a, a boatload of cash. Say whatever you want about that. So, because it's made so much money, it's because it's become the highest grossing installment of the franchise, it seems only natural that there could be a Scream 8. And wouldn't you know it, there is going to be a Scream 8. This article is on Joe Blow, published by Kevin Fraser. And a little ways down here it says that Spyglass Entertainment is developing another sequel, and Deadline reports that a pair of writers have been found to pen the script for Scream 8. Lilla and Nora Zuckerman will serve as the writers of Scream 8. The pair are best known as the showrunners of Poker Face, the mystery crime drama created by Rian Johnson and starring Natasha Lyonne. By the way, I've heard Poker Face is fantastic. So there is that. Now, they've also worked on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Suits, Fringe, Prodigal Son, as well as the pilot for Buffy the Vampire Slayer New Sunnydale, which the studio recently passed on. Now, this article does point out that Kevin Williamson will not be back to direct. Okay. So, Lilla and Nora Zuckerman serving as the writers for Scream 8. Like I said, I've heard Poker Face is incredible. They also worked on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Wah, wah. Now, they also worked on Suits, which is, if I know, yeah, Suits. Suits is just such a sexy show. You know, like that show just exudes sexiness. You know, Suits. I haven't seen the entire show, but they also worked on Fringe. Fringe is really, really good. I really enjoyed Fringe with Joshua Jackson and John Noble. I really enjoyed Fringe. Now, here are my thoughts on the Scream 8. I think they've got the right kind of writers for this. You know, they've worked on other than Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. They've worked on really good shows. So I have no doubt that this is going to be well written. I have questions about who's going to direct, who will direct this movie. And I just have to say, other than Scream, like I've enjoyed the last few installments. You know, Scream 5, 6, and 7, or no, 5 and 6. I've thoroughly enjoyed them. But I didn't even. I heard Scream 7 was awful, so I didn't even bother with it, which is a shame. But I think they've gone in the right direction with these writers so far. I think this is a good start. Hopefully it'll be better than Scream 7. I don't know. I think, look, I don't think the franchise is in any danger of slowing down. As far as I'm concerned, there are more good ones in the bunch than bad ones. It's not like, there are other franchises that there are more bad movies in the bunch than good ones, and I don't think that Scream is one of those. So this Scream 7 is the highest grossing one of the franchise. So there's definitely something to be said about that. I don't think this franchise is in any danger of slowing down. I just think they need to get better writers, apparently. So who's going to direct? We'll see. I don't. Evidently it's not going to be Kevin Williamson, which is fine. But are they going to get Nev Campbell back? Lord knows all the behind the scenes stuff that they had to deal with to get her back, and I just have questions. But it looks like that it looks like it's heading in the right direction with these writers. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully it's good. So we'll see. So jump in the comments section and let me know your thoughts about Scream 8. Lord, I'm old. Scream 8. Okay, so sticking with horror, one of the, I guess, one of the pioneering horror movies of all time. One of the pioneering horror movies of all time is the original Blair Witch Project. That movie kind of kicked off this found footage kind of film, the way the camera moves, and is it real? Is it pretend? What's going on here? And the first one was a real phenomenon. I mean, it really was. I have seen the first Blair Witch Project. It's it's I didn't think it was very good at all. I thought it was terrible. I thought it was like everybody was talking about how it's this awesome movie that changed horror. And while it did in terms of the way the camera moved and whether it was real or fake, but as a movie, I was just like that. Well, that's extremely overrated. I didn't think it was very interesting at all, really. And then there was Book of Shadows, the Blair Witch 2, which I heard that was terrible. And then there was hold on just a second. And then there was this movie called Blair Witch, which came out in 2016, which ignored the 2000, which ignored the sequel and was served as actually a direct sequel to the original. And I heard that was terrible. By the way, it should be pointed out that critics loved the original Blair Witch Project. I guess I'm one of the few people that found it boring, to say the least. But it was a critical success. But they just have never been able to find a way to duplicate the success of the first film. Well, Um, for those who don't know, there is going to be a new Blair Witch Project movie. Um, so for those who don't know, there back in 2023, there were rumors and reports that came out that there was going to be another take on the concept. Um, um, and from Lionsgate and Blumhouse Studios, Lionsgate Studios and Blumhouse Studios, but nothing really came of it, or nothing. It was announced in 2023, but there's been no news since, I should say. Well, this article is on MovieWeb, published by Patrick Kavanaugh. um, and about halfway down in um, this article says that Dread Central confirms that filmmaker Dylan Clark has been enlisted to direct this new Blair Witch Project movie. Dylan Clark has previously did a couple of short films called Transfigure and Portrait of God, which I have not seen. It sounds like they're trying to. It sounds like they were, as far as. It sounds like they, evidently they want to try these studios. They want to try again. They found uh, a great deal of success with the first film, and even though the subsequent movies haven't lived up to that, they want to try again. And props to them for doing that. I mean, there have been several franchises that have that's happened with. I just think, and look, I also think it's a good idea to get an unknown feature film director to do this. You get this kind of auteurist vision to come in and deliver a brand new take on the Blair Witch Project. I like that. You get this unknown name to bring their own voice to it, and maybe it'll be good. I just I don't know. I think if it's look, if it's good, great. I I mentioned earlier, I mentioned about the Scream franchise, that I don't think this franchise has run out of steam, clearly. I think it's the opposite with the Blair Witch Project. I think because of the extreme lack of success regarding the Blair Witch Project sequels, I think if this new one doesn't work, I think they should just not abandon it, but stay away from it for 5 to 7 years. Give people a break from this. I don't know. I mean, I think it could be interesting. The concept of the Blair Witch Project. And the way the camera movements, again, this found footage kind of deal, and is it real or is it fake? I like that, but I just don't think the film worked overall. But maybe this unknown feature film director can do something fresh with it. We'll see. But I think if it doesn't work, I think they should just stay away from it for a number of years. And look, I mean, the other thing too is that you have Blumhouse Studios involved in this, and they have a great deal of success when it comes to horror films. So there's that too. I mean, who knows? It could be great. It could be awesome. But I think if it's not, I think they should steer clear of it for several years. But that's just me. So jump in the comments section and let me know your thoughts about a new Blair Witch Project movie. Okay. So moving on here. So anyone who's anyone, if you don't know, you should know that as far as film franchises go, as far as film franchises are concerned, Star Wars is my thing. Star Wars is my jam. It has been. It always will be. It has been since I first saw the original movie in the basement at my grandparents' house in Maine, and I jumped up and down on the couch at the end of that movie. And Star Wars is my jam, and it always will be. And all my friends know it, and if you don't know it, you should know it. And but there's been, I will admit that there has been some Star Wars there as far as the shows are concerned, the streaming series are concerned. There have been a couple that I haven't seen. I and I have to say I've thoroughly enjoyed the ones that I have seen. Um, let me so there's been I have notes. Um, I think the only one that I thought I think it was decent was the Book of Boba Fett. Um, you know, but I've thoroughly enjoyed all the. Yeah, I mean, the thing like a lot of people hate on the Acolyte. I really enjoyed the Acolyte. I and everybody's like, really? You enjoyed the Acolyte? I'm like, it was better than Book of Boba Fett. I can tell you that. Um, but I've thoroughly enjoyed the ones that I have seen. So there's this one of the newest Star Wars shows that's come out is this Maul Shadow Lord, which is about Darth Maul, even though he's no longer Darth. But it's called Maul Shadow Lord, and it takes place about a year after um, um, I want to make sure I get this right. Um, it's set after the Clone Wars, and it takes place after I think a year after the rise of the Empire. Um, and it focuses on Darth Maul rebuilding his criminal empire, and it focuses on his quest for revenge because I mean you remember, I mean, he was betrayed by Sidious, and um he and it's just he's just filled with hate and revenge, and he wants you know um I mean he and it was um I have heard that it's awesome. I have not watched it yet. There's a few Star Wars shows that I need to watch, and that's one of them. And you know, Darth Maul is awesome. Um, I have, and the way he's been used over time in various Star Wars projects has been great. Like I remember being I remember being disappointed about how little he was used in the Phantom Menace. Um, and let me make sure I get my um, and then you know, and then George Lucas brought him back. Like he was underutilized in Phantom Menace, but George Lucas is like, no, I have plans for him, you know. But I love the character, and I've heard the show is great. I've heard it's arguably the best Star Wars show that uh, that they've done, that has done. Well, uh, there's been news. There is news regarding Maul Shadow Lord. This article is on Joe Blow, published by Kevin Fraser. Creator and executive producer Dave Filoni has announced that Star Wars Maul Shadow Lord Season 2 is in the works from Lucasfilm Animation. Yeah. So, and Sam Witwer is going to come back as Maul. And so there's going to be a season 2 of Maul Shadow Lord. This is awesome. This is awesome. You know, and by the way, Sam Witwer, he's not just a great voice actor as Darth Maul. You know, his knowledge of Star Wars is encyclopedic in nature. I mean, that guy bleeds Star Wars, probably more than Dave Filoni, which is insane. You know, and people love the character of Darth Maul too, and I'm one of them. I wonder, if Darth Maul will cross paths with Vader. Although, how do you do Vader without James Earl Jones? I was. We were all crushed when James Earl Jones died. Man, that was tough. That was tough. That was tough. But I mean, how do you do Vader without James Earl Jones? I just want to say something real quick. Uh, I was on a plane. My wife and I were on a plane. We were on a plane from Albuquerque to Cincinnati, and because we were on the plane, we couldn't use our phones, and we were. It was a connecting flight, I think, and when we landed, I forget where we landed in connection. We were on a plane to Albuquerque. We were on a plane in Albuquerque heading to Cincinnati so that I could see my dad. And when we landed in our connecting city, you know, we turned our phones on and we got the news that James Earl Jones died. And I'm like, oh man, you know, that sucked. You know, I I just felt like I wanted to tell that little piece of information. Um, it would like again like it would be like in terms of like a what if scenario, like what if Maul encountered Darth Vader? But again, how do you do Darth Vader without James Earl Jones? I don't know. But look, I've always thought there is so much you could do with Darth Maul, with Maul. I mean, look, from Phantom Menace to his death in Rebels. I mean, and Star Wars Rebels takes place um um let's see. Um so it what's crazy is that Darth Maul from his first appearance in Phantom Menace to his death in Star Wars Rebels. What's crazy is that the the episode that Darth Maul appears in Rebels um, takes place only 2 years before A New Hope. So it's crazy to think. It just wrap your head around the fact that Darth Maul faced off against um, Alec Guinness's Obi-Wan. Like he knew Obi-Wan as when Obi-Wan was a Padawan. Like he faced off against him then, and then and then decades later, old man Obi-Wan cut him down. Only 2 years Obi- before Luke met Obi-Wan. That's just wild to think about. There's so much history. There's so many stories you could tell with Maul. I am very excited for this, especially considering how I've heard how great season 1 is. I've heard it's awesome. So I can't wait for this. I'm looking forward to this. So jump in the comment section and let me know your thoughts. Okay, so moving on here. Um, so I've always said when it comes to comic books and comic book film TV adaptations, I love my Marvel. I love the Marvel and DC stuff. But I also love when lesser known and more independent comic books get film adaptations. And we have one coming. Um this article is on Variety, published by William Earl. Um, this article says that Adam Cesar's Dark Horse comic series Dead Mall is making its way to the big screen. Um, let's see here. This article, there's a little ways down here. It gives a synopsis of Dead Mall. Uh, Dead Mall follows 5 teens who sneak into their local mall for one last look before it's demolished, only to discover the mall is far from abandoned. Inside the crumbling retail labyrinth, they encounter a sprawling, ever-changing cosmic horror that has made the mall its home, transforming the familiar consumer temple into a nightmarish maze where survival is anything but guaranteed. Um, and then it's described it's described as uh, Event Horizon meets Hellraiser. Oh God, I don't know that I would. I don't know how I feel about. I mean, I don't know how I feel about that. That sounds wild to me. Um, this sounds so cool. Like imagine this happening. Like you're oh, let's take one last look at this place before it gets demolished and oh shit, there's some supernatural stuff going on in here. Like this is like it's haunted and shit. Like this sounds wild to me. And I mean this sounds really ripe for a film adaptation. I think this could bring in comic book fans. I think this could bring in like supernatural horror fans. I mean, this sounds really interesting, and it really sounds like something as far as comic book material goes. This sounds like this is truly original, and it sounds like this could. It sounds like it. I mean, this is gonna bring a fresh take on to uh the comic book genre. Um, you know, this it reminds me of like when I saw Chronicle with Michael B. Jordan and Dane DeHaan. You know, uh, and again, I love the superhero movie stuff, but Chronicle was like that's something I've never seen before. Like that was awesome. And this sounds like something similar to like this is something I've never seen before. It's going to be awesome. Um, and again, it's it. I love when lesser known and more independent stuff gets adapted for film and television. And in this case, film. This sounds really cool. Um, and you know, yeah. So jump in the comment section and let me know your thoughts on Dead Mall getting a film adaptation. Um, okay, so one of the things that I like to do with this show is talk about the business side of the entertainment world. And the goings on. Um, kind of inside baseball kinds of information. And I mentioned either my last episode or the episode before that the Writers Guild of America and the films and the studios uh, might their contract was about to expire, and it was a matter of curiosity as to whether or not the two were going to be able to make a deal, because if they weren't able to make a deal, it would just destroy the industry because of what happened last time. We had the pandemic, and on top of that, we had the writer and actor strikes, and it just was terrible for the industry. And it was a little scary because there was this danger of it happening again this time. Well, it's not going to happen. This article is on Variety, published by Gene Madaus. This article says the Writers Guild of America has made a surprise deal with the major studios nearly a month before the union's contract was due to expire. The Guild reached a tentative agreement on Saturday, so this article was published on April 4th. So, this deal was made. This deal was made on April 4th. With the guild reached a tentative agreement on Saturday with the Alliance of Motion Picture and Television Producers. The deal will run for 4 years instead of the typical 3-year term, a significant benefit to the studios, which will get an extra year without the possibility of a strike. Details were not immediately forthcoming, but the deal was expected to include a major cash infusion into the Guild's teetering health fund, which has bled $200 million over the last 4 years. So that's great news. Let's see. The deal must still be approved by the WGA board and sent to members for ratification. The early agreement marks a stark contrast from the last contract cycle when the WGA went on strike for 148 days to secure improvements in streaming residuals, TV staffing minimums, and other terms. Yeah, that was nuts. That was crazy. Yeah. So, yeah. So I'm glad that this happened, and I'm glad that they reached an early deal, and it's going to be for 4 years instead of the standard 3. I mean, look, I, as far as look, I'll flat out say it. Film production in L.A. and I have talked to a couple people who work in film production in L.A. Film production in Los Angeles is dying, and that's a fact. And the other fact is that the future of the film industry, as far as the use of AI is no, as far as the future as far as the future of AI is concerned, is very disturbing, and it raises a lot of questions. So I'm glad that they were able to reach a deal. And I'm glad that there's not going to be another strike. I was optimistic about this. I'm glad to see that I was right. Because Lord knows the film industry can't deal with another strike. I'm glad this has happened. I'm glad we're going to continue to get film production. Yeah. So I don't know what else to say about this. This is good news. Yeah, I think for anyone who was worried about the future of film, I think this is good news. And I'm one of those people. Yeah. I mean, because we still haven't the film industry still hasn't fully recovered from the strikes and the 1-2 punch of the strikes and the pandemic. They still haven't recovered from that. So I'm glad to see that this happened. So jump in the comment section and let me know your thoughts. Okay. So a little bit of Marvel TV news. Couple more bits of news to talk about. So leading up to Spider-Man Brand New Day and Avengers Doomsday, I have been catching up and rewatching certain Marvel movies and TV shows, and some of them especially the TV shows, more so the TV shows than the films. There are a few shows that I never watched previously that I'm watching now, gearing up for Spider-Man Brand New Day and Avengers Doomsday, and also because there are shows that didn't used to be part of the MCU, that were their separate thing, that are now part of the MCU, like the Daredevil series and other shows like that. So I've been watching, especially the Marvel Netflix shows. Um, and I have to say, uh, for the most part, um, sorry, I have notes. Um, for the most part, I've thought that the Marvel Netflix shows uh, have been really, really good. Um, there's this Eyes of Wakanda animated anthology series, which I thought was great. Um, the Netflix Daredevil show is great. I'd seen that before, but I was catching up on it. Um, Luke Cage is great. Luke Cage is awesome. Um, I've been watching. What else have I watched? Excuse me. I watched all 3 seasons of the animated What If series. That was great. Um, Jessica Jones is great. Um, I I thought the Punisher series. I'm trying to think of how to phrase this properly. Look, John Bernthal is as far as the characterization of the Punisher goes. John Bernthal is the best Punisher. The material, like as far as the writing is concerned, I thought is decent. But John Bernthal is the best Punisher. I thought the show was decent. Um, I have I hated. Well, I watched season 1 of Iron Fist. I hated it. I hated it so much. But um, Finn Jones, like the acting is good. Finn Jones's Iron Fist is solid. And who's the actress? Um, Jessica Henwick as Colleen Wing. Um, she's fantastic, and Finn Jones, who plays Iron Fist, he's solid. But the material is terrible. The show's terrible. I hated the first season of Iron Fist. However, I did watch the Defenders miniseries. The Defenders is really, really good. It's really, really good, especially the banter between Luke Cage and Iron Fist. It's fantastic. Um, um, and I really enjoyed the Defenders. Um, the other one that I hadn't watched, which I thought was decent, was the Marvel Zombies. Um, and I love zombie shit. Like I eat that shit up. No pun intended. Um, but Marvel Zombies was decent. Well, as far as so there's also one of the newer shows that I need to watch is Daredevil Born Again. I've heard it's great. And that's the other reason why I'm watching all these Netflix Marvel shows is because of Daredevil Born Again, because Jessica Jones is back in Daredevil Born Again. And now it's been confirmed that the other Defenders are at least going to um, be in Daredevil Born Again Season 3. This article is on Variety, published by Jack Dunn. Mike Coulter, who plays Luke Cage, and Finn Jones, who plays Iron Fist, have been spotted on the set of Daredevil Born Again Season 3 alongside Jessica Jones star Kristen Ritter. The trio appears to be gearing up for a Defenders cast reunion in the upcoming Daredevil season. Um, so Iron Fist and Luke Cage are coming back. This is awesome. This is awesome. Look, uh, other than what was the other one that was terrible? Inhumans. Inhumans was terrible. I even though I'll say this, even though I thought season 1 of Iron Fist was terrible, I did enjoy it more than Inhumans. But the four Defenders being together again is great. It's awesome because and I think a lot of people would agree. And I'm going to say this because I recently watched the Defenders miniseries. The Defenders miniseries is really, really good. It's really, really good. And my favorite scene in the whole miniseries is when the four of them they're on the run and they're in the restaurant. And Matt is just like, no, I can't be involved in this. And and then eventually Styx shows up, and you see Jessica Jones and Luke Cage talking again, and Jessica Jones asks about Iron Fist, and she's like, "Who's that guy?" And Luke Cage is like, "Well, he packs a punch when he needs to," and Jessica's like, "So do you," and Luke Cage is like, "You okay?" And she's like, now or in general, and Matt Murdock is just like, "How do you two know each other?" And they kind of look at each other like, "We met in a bar, we fought, I shot him in the head," That's my favorite scene. I love that miniseries, but especially like it the chemistry and the banter between all four of those characters felt natural. It didn't felt like they were trying at all. It just came naturally to them, and that's the thing that I love the best. And I especially, and I was worried because I hated Iron Fist the first season so much. I was worried about, I don't know if this is going to work, but it did. This is awesome. I'm so glad that this is happening. I wonder if we're going to get another Defenders miniseries. Look, I'm just glad that we're getting the four of them back together. I cannot wait for this. I need to finish season 2 of Luke Cage, and then watch season 2 of Iron Fist, and then go from there. I need to do that. I might do that today. I don't know. But yeah, so this is awesome. I love this. But that's my favorite scene in the Defenders. It's just so great. The other bit of Marvel news, I mentioned Marvel Zombies. I thought that show was decent, and it ended on a cliffhanger. This article was on Joe Blow, published by Cody Haman. And this article does say that Marvel is moving forward with more Marvel Zombies, with season 2 now in development. While a green light has not yet been announced, Marvel's head of streaming, television, and animation, Brad Winderbaum, has confirmed that new episodes are actively being worked on behind the scenes, and he has even watched the first animatic. For those who don't know, animatics are visuals before they're finalized. So animations before they're completed. I liked Marvel Zombies. I want to see more, and it ended on a cliffhanger. And it was definitely, uh, it's definitely not for the kids. I'll say that, which is perfectly fine with me. Look, more Marvel Zombies. You know, the Defenders are back. All good things. All good things. So jump in the comment section and let me know what you guys think about this. Well, that'll about do it. I'm gonna try. That'll about do it for this episode. I'm sorry that it's been so long. I'm gonna try to do one more episode today, but we'll see. I'm either gonna do another episode today, or I'm going to do 2 on Friday. I would prefer to do 2 today, but we'll see. So, I hope you guys enjoyed the show today and continue to enjoy the show in the future. As always, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. If you have any questions or comments, you can email me anytime. And what else? What else? Was there something I want to make sure I'm not missing anything. Oh, my wife Katie and I saw the new Robert Pattinson Zendaya movie, The Drama. It's great. It's great. I can see, I can understand the criticism for it. But I personally loved the movie. I personally loved it. But anyway, so yeah. I hope you enjoyed the show and continue to enjoy the show. And until next time, I will see you at the movies.